Okay, so this video is going to be, where's my mic? This video is going to be about the first in a series called A Tale of Three Treasures. I'm just reading straight from a report that I submitted to Albany after in July of last year, and this document was co-written by Ron Hood, James Carlos, and me. I'm sharing it with permission from them. The three of us wrote it together, but I was the primary author, and it went through a number of revisions. Now, they asked me to write it only naming the position of the person and not naming names, but in this video I'm naming names to keep it clear, because I don't want to have to explain stuff later. I want it to be very clear up front. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the time when, in 2020, when the whole world was shutting down. There's a lot of really shady stuff that was happening at the library in 2020. Oscar Davis was the then president, which he had been for 10 years, which is not exactly in line with the guidelines and bylaws, but whatever. I understand that he was chair of every committee and had handpicked different people to be on those committees with him, but he was the chair of every committee, and which of course includes the finance committee, and that the finance committee advises the board on the issues of the treasurer. The treasurer serves at the pleasure of the board. The treasurer is hired and terminated by a majority vote of the board according to the library bylaws. And I'll do other videos just going through the bylaws so that people can understand what the bylaws are about. Now, basically, that's the rule book of how things are operated at the library. So at the time, Juan Abelo was the treasurer, and in my notes I have the then current president of City Council, Marcus Griffith, was hired in March 2020 to serve as the chief accounting clerk for an annual salary of $65,000. Up to that time, annual reports had been filed in a timely manner to the New York State Education Department. Oscar Davis was the board president, and he and Caithlin Gleason served together as the finance committee. Okay. The executive director, Timur Davis, informed me of the following situation. In July of 2020, the then current treasurer was greeted by several police officers as he was leaving work that day, at the end of that day, and the police informed him that he no longer worked at the library. I searched for documentation on this incident. I looked in the resolutions to see if the board had voted to terminate him, and there was no such record. It just simply hadn't happened, which is in violation of the bylaws. The only documentation regarding Juan Abelo's ending of work at the library was when the board accepted his resignation. I think it was I want to say that was in September. Yeah. My understanding is that Mr. Abelo went through the process of arbitration to keep his job, and that process failed to restore him as treasurer, and he got another job, and then he resigned in September. I have verified this incident with several people who witnessed the incident, and they confirmed with me that's pretty much how it happened. It was recommended by the legal counsel at the time that Marcus Griffith be terminated as chief accounting clerk. But instead, he submitted a letter to the board, a very eloquent one, which I have actually read, very persuasive. And so he was elevated to the position of treasurer in the fall of 2020, so that he would be paid the treasurer's salary, which was in excess of $100,000, around $100,000. And so he drew a salary as treasurer in addition to drawing a salary as a member of city council. So there's this overlap between city council and the library, which we will, I'll mention later. Once the board elevated Marcus Griffith to treasurer, this attorney dropped the library as a client, because what's the point keeping a client that goes against your best advice, right? The reason for Jose Abelo's termination was really unknown to us. Of course, there was no reason given because he wasn't officially terminated. But we did notice that the starting figure for the fiscal year starting July 1, 2020 does not match the ending dollar amount for June 30, 2020. So a fiscal year is one that starts whenever an organization decides, but a common fiscal year runs from July 1 to June 30 of the following calendar year. And we noticed that there was a very large discrepancy between the beginning numbers of starting July 1 and the ending number of June 30. Now, those numbers are supposed to be the same, but they were not. And so I can't help but wonder if that was why he was escorted out. Okay. So that is how that's the story of the treasurer in 2020, and how Jose Abelo was very unceremoniously, disrespectfully treated, escorted out of the library, told he didn't work there anymore, completely in violation of the bylaws. And this was done under the leadership of Oscar Davis and Caithlin Gleason when they were, when Oscar Davis was board president, Caithlin Gleason was a trustee, and together they served on the finance committee. And so that's the story of Jose Abelo, the former treasurer, whose role with the library ended in 2020 when the whole world was shutting down. And I don't know about you, but I certainly had my own stuff to think about in 2020. I wasn't paying any attention to the library, and a lot happened during that time, right under our noses. Okay, so that's the tale of three treasurers, part one.